Hello, my name is Exabu, and this is Unity of Command Battle of the Bulge mission on hard. 3, 2, 1. Let's look at what this mission has to offer. And let me just say outright, this is the most difficult mission of the 5th historic branch of the campaign, and it can kick your butts if you do things wrong. And here, by the way, is where I start my main attack, because this is a kind of mixed defensive-offensive scenario, as expected for the Battle of the Bulge. And so this is the main thrust of your attack. It's somewhat unexpected, maybe, if you don't look too much, spend too much time actually looking at the map. But advancing at raw dams is critical because that's the only way to cut the supply off for the Bulge, and destroying it otherwise is, I wouldn't say impossible, it's very difficult. Because they've got plenty of very strong, well-equipped divisions in difficult terrain. The only thing you need to do is defend around Bastogne. The paratroopers are actually well positioned there, and generally I've never seen the Germans, despite really intense attempts at doing that, they've always failed to actually take that town. Your only goal there, obviously, is to help maybe clear the area around it, but don't get too invested in it. Obviously, keep these guys in supply, fortified, obviously, but otherwise don't feel like you really need to completely relieve the defenders of Bastogne, because you have other priorities. So your next priority, and well, kind of jumping around, obviously, is the south, where the Germans will actually attack, because like in Moose crossings and everything, in those areas the Germans will be immobile. They're not planning to continue their attack. I don't know what happens if you don't do anything to kind of maintain some sort of a zone of control, zone of around them. They might start attacking, start pushing towards the Moose Crossings objective, because it's an objective and the AI will probably take the opportunity if there is one. But otherwise, they're just passive. They're not going to do anything, so you'll do what I do right now. So I essentially pushed towards that supply hub, towards those railways that are feeding this entire Bulge, and I think next turn I would actually already cut them off, and a couple of turns are just turning into nothing, and you'll just mop them up, and they're not going to be a problem. To be honest, this part of the map is really not that difficult. I also, as a secondary thrust, I actually do this clearing up around Luxembourg. Actually pushing across that bridge isn't such a bad idea, also, just to facilitate you crossing the enemy supply lines, blocking them, and ultimately encircling them. But the mission-ending part of this mission is this, i.e. the south of the map, where the Germans will launch an active attack, and where your position isn't as easy because of all of the plains, and because of the relative strength of the German divisions. And here you, please, for the love of God, don't attack yourself. Generally, it results in lost tank divisions, because what they will do, they will surround you, and they attack you, and corner you, and then destroy you completely. That's what will happen. You don't have enough forces to launch a very consistent, very sustainable attack there. So definitely go into the defense. And I found that's the best option, increasing fortification, holding on to that town. Let's look at what I do actually next turn. Alright, so I'm trying to push across at Luxembourg, and I will have breached there. It's not so difficult, because the enemy infantry defending there is in the plain, so I will crush them. So especially with engineers, lots of artillery, it's going to work. And so, yeah, here I am, actually, and by the way, as you can see, the enemy supply hub in the Bulge is already red, so I think some of these units are still within supply. It's a weird situation where the supply hub doesn't get the supplies, but, like, nearby supply hubs actually are still feeding the units in that area, but it's gonna end very soon. So I'm gradually starting to clear up that area, mostly to free up my forces and not have to kind of maintain a a perimeter there, so just to simplify and shorten the front line in that area and have more forces to deal. Even though actually this mission is ending, in the north the mission is ending, and as you can see, I'm defending Hagenau. This is your goal, and by the way, I'm using that rear guard ability just to slow the Germans down. Please don't try and like hold your ground in the open. Like increase your fortifications. Don't hold those plain hexes. Hold the forest. Hold the towns, and it's gonna be like a death wish, like a really a yes. So and they retreat, and I'm just letting these tanks get in. And by the way, this is also a very difficult like in the south, and I'm shifting between the south and the north. Very difficult to explain. So. And by the way, the AI is very desperate right now. It's trying to do something. It sees that all of its units are suddenly out of supply, and it's trying to kind of correct the situation, maybe like use the final opportunity to actually take Bastogne, but they will fail. And to be honest, I've never seen. So I've played this map a few times before I got it right, and no, the AI never succeeds. Yes, the AI, like in this area, in the Hagenau area, actually, that's just a little west of Hagenau. That area, I have had to restart the mission. Restarts it because the Germans actually got out of the forest and blocked my railway line, actually feeding Hagenau, and I had no way of dislodging them. And well, it happened more than once actually. So actually keep that area in mind. It's very critical. And it's very easy to kind of not notice it and not pay enough attention to it, and ultimately, well, screw yourself over. And as you can see, so next turn, the Germans are not, like, in the area, not going to be able to attack, even though they've got some of the troops out of trouble, out of the encirclements, but now it's not happening. So all of the supplies are coming through Cologne, and even that Panther that's got out of the encirclement is, as far as I understand, it's not going to be a problem. And all of the rest in the side pockets are already second turn out of supply, so they're not going to attack. They're just going to sit and wait for their death. Obviously, in the south, it's much more difficult. I'm using all of my air support attacks, and it's kind of critical, as you can see. So they've damaged one of my infantry divisions very hard. I need to deal as much damage as possible. In Hagenau itself, the situation is much more relaxed, to be honest, because they're not gonna very easily take it without probably trying to block my supply lines and starving that division before it essentially dies, because it's in a city, it's a special forces unit, it's a fortified unit, a completely fortified unit, and it's an elite unit. It is a very difficult terrain to attack in, so yeah, they've blocked my supply, but this time, yes, I've got 3 tank divisions, well supplied, strong, and they've just got one mech, even though it actually has that one tank destroyer, which might cause me some trouble. I think it was Stug 3F, as far as I remember, it was the naming of the specialist step. Anyway, so this is certainly can be a problem if you're not prepared for it, and it will happen. Be prepared for something like that. So, because the AI will definitely push across the forest and try and block your supply line, which is absolutely terrible news, unless you're well prepared and you can easily dislodge them, but just don't count on it. As you can see, like many of the units, which we can't see right now, because obviously the north is already done. So they... and I'm essentially at this point, by the way, I'm just gathering experience. I really don't need to kill any of these troops. I just can wait. But even on hard, even completely suppressed units enemies can cause damage. And at this point, I'm really destroying all that Panther just in case it gets supplies somewhere, so that it doesn't cause me any trouble, doesn't ride into an objective that I missed or something, doesn't somehow hit me in the flank, hit me in the bum somehow. But this area is really boring right now, and it's completely uneventful. It's watertight right now, and they're not gonna come out. In the south, though, it's slightly more interesting, and here, obviously, once again, I'm just trying to get some experience for my troops. It's nothing else. And here it's kind of slightly more critical looking because there are still a couple of reasonably strong mechanized divisions. But this is going to end pretty quickly, and I decided to take some damage there. It looked like probably a 1-2 situation. That tank attack, but it was necessary. I really supply in this area is critical, and the AI knows that. And as you can see, I'm pretty much here. Right now, the AI doesn't have sufficient tank forces anymore. I don't know why I should get those reinforcements are completely useless here. Had I got that tank division one turn earlier, that would have been slightly more useful, but at this point, the mission is over. All the Germans have now are a few reasonably strong infantry divisions, which they're reasonably successfully using, by the way. I've lost 2 steps, which is not apocalyptic. And they've managed to encircle a town, which, yeah. Actually, yeah, it's gonna be 2 turns out of supply, but I'm gonna dislodge the encircling units, and it's not gonna be a problem. Turn 6 out of 7, so this turn I'm definitely taking Eliminate Bulge. As far as I remember, it was the deadline for the objective itself. But right now, I'm just exploiting the opportunity of turning all of these troops, of losing some of these troops, or hopefully turning these troops into elites and veterans. Because especially Americans, they suffer from not having French too. They suffer because many of these units are just completely new units. They suffer from lack of experience. With the Brits and the Canadians, it's not as bad. You are very likely to have some very powerful tank divisions which you actually got early, and Eliminate Bulge is mine, which you get early in the campaign, which are transferred to the north of Europe, to France, like the New Zealand tank division, yeah, so you're gonna get quite experienced, very experienced troops. With Americans, it's sometimes a bit of a problem, so yeah, I'm looking for all the opportunities to actually improve the experience of these troops. Most of these units will continue fighting on in the campaign. And yes, so here's me just, getting some experience. Yeah, this is what you should do in general. Yeah, try to encircle enemies and get experience whenever you can. Whenever you clearly have too much time on your hands, when you've taken all of the objectives, unless there are no enemies in sight, don't end the mission. Just pick up all of those, pick up all of the pieces and get all that experience you can, because it's actually it's a, I want to say it's a double-edged sword, but it's not. It's like a single-edged sword, but with two blades. So because it's a stupid metaphor. Anyway, so it's the point is that. Yes, and I was really kind of concerned about this encirclement. Okay, and cornering, so this time I managed to use cornering and destroy these guys completely. But the point is that you get experience not only for your units, you only get experience for your HQs, which is a critical thing to have and do. And by the way, here I was already confident to actually attack with a fortified unit. Not worry about the consequences of this unit losing fortifications, because, yeah, the Germans have lost the entire map, so this is not, nothing is going to happen that will kind of screw with my ability to defend this. And by the way, Hagenau, they've never even attacked Hagenau, so you can actually you can mount a strong enough defense in a hex, especially if it's a difficult terrain hex, like a town, and not worry about the AI ever attacking, because it's the odds are so bad. Or maybe forcing the AI to mount very crazy, very desperate attacks and lose lots of troops, which usually results in you making it easier for you to actually destroy them. And by the way, there's no Bulge anymore. I'm just clearing everything up and taking all those prisoners that I really don't need. And yeah, so that's the mission. I think this is it for today. Thank you for listening and watching. This is a very abrupt end, because the footage is over, and until next time.